Okay. Doing the overview of this week's daf, which is daf Yud Tes Amud Beis and daf Chaf Amud Aleph. First discussion that we have is regarding the Mishnah, which we had on daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Says that someone who eats mais sheni chutz l'chayim get malchus. Right? Mais sheni has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. If you eat it outside of the mais sheni, you get malchus. So we're going to discuss this. First of all, we start off with a stira, not a stira, sorry, a kasha. This din, the mais sheni chutz l'chayim gets malchus. Tanina chadazim in the first Mishnah. First Mishnah of Eidin Aloikin already said that if you eat mais sheni in Hagdish when you shouldn't, meaning outside of the chayma, then you're going to be chayiv malchus. Because the Mishnah Daf Yud Gimel, which is the first Mishnah in Aloikin, what's the lashon over there? The lashon that it says over there is that if you eat ma'aser sheni v'hekdesh shaloi niftu, you are going to be right chayav malchus. So why do you need to tell me twice that eating ma'aser sheni, which wasn't redeemed outside of Yerushalayim, is a pram? So the Gemara answers it's not telling me the same thing twice. The Gemara's answer is two different types of ma'aser sheni. The first Mishnah is talking about ma'aser sheni, which is tameh. Either the ma'aser sheni is tameh, or the person is tameh and it's being eaten in Yerushalayim. If the ma'aser sheni is tameh, it can't be eaten in Yerushalayim. It's supposed to be redeemed, as the Gemara later will explain how we know that. But that's what he's talking about. That's ma'aser sheni v'hekdesh shaloi niftu. And our Mishnah is talking about the regular case of ma'aser sheni chutz l'chayim. That's how the Gemara answers the steer. So that's the first thing. Then the Gemara asks, how taka do we know that Ichayev Tuma? How do we know that Ichayev Mishum Tuma? If you're Tameh, or if the Ma'aser Sheni is Tameh, that you are Chayev Malchus for eating the Ma'aser Sheni even in Yerushalayim. So we say a Brisa, basically quotes a Brisa. The Brisa says that from the Pasuk, when you do Vidui Maasers in the Vidui Maasers, I believe is in the 3rd and 6th year, you say you have to make sure that all your debts of mice have been taken care of. So you're confessing, you're kind of making a statement that you did everything you're supposed to be done. So part of and everything you did correctly. One of the things he says, I didn't eat it while Tommy. And we learn from that it means both ways, either when the Ma'aser Sheni was Tomei, or when you didn't eat any of the Ma'asers while you were Tomei, you didn't eat the Ma'aser Sheni while you were Tomei, you didn't eat the Ma'aser Sheni while it was Tomei. So we know there's a problem in eating it for Tomei. The only problem is, as the Brisa continues, is that where's the lab? In other words, you can only get malchus even in you. So we know it's wrong. We know you're not supposed to eat it while it's tummy. You're not supposed to eat it while you're tummy. But how do we know that you get malchus? For that, you need a clear tzivui loy. The Eibush tells you don't do it. Here, it's just a diuk from the vidui that a person makes. So we know it's a problem. But where does it say you're not allowed to? So this could be a malchus. So the Brisa says, Eini Yoidea. The first thing the Brisa says doesn't know. The Brisa continues and says, Talmud Loima, that we learn that of Lisuch Alecha B'Shrecha, but before the Brisa continues, the Gemara asks the Kash, what do you mean you don't know? It's a Beferish Pasuk. In other words, Thomas Haguf, the fact that when a person is Tommy, he's not allowed to eat Ma'aser Sheni. The Beferish Pasuk says, V'lo yoicham min hakotchim ki im rachas b'sari. It's clear that that's talking about Ma'aser Sheni, even though it uses the word kotchim. From the Pasuk it's clear because it says ki im rachat, as long as you're told that you're allowed to eat it, which doesn't apply to other things, because then you need to wait for Harav Shemesh and so on. So it's a Mefursha pasuk, or that can't be the Brise's question. So the Gemara, Tak explains that's not when the Gemara says, when the Brise says Eini Yoidea, it means to say I don't know what the mocker is for when the Ma'aser Sheni itself is done. And then the Bryce Taka continues and says, what's Taka the marker for when the Ma'aser Sheni is tummy, you're not allowed to eat it, and there's a malchus. It says, Lisuch Alecha B'Sharecha. It says, Tashas Lisuch Alecha B'Sharecha means you're not allowed to eat it outside Yerushalayim. I don't know that you're not allowed to eat it, that there's a law for eating it inside Yerushalayim when the Ma'aser Sheni is tummy. But from the fact that the Torah uses the word B'Sharecha, and later on by B'Choy, which has got a Balmum, also uses the word B'Sharecha, and over there it says B'Sharecha Toichlan, that you're allowed to eat it B'Sharecha, HaTami V'Atoyer, that the Tami V'Atoyer can eat it, and we learn in the Bryce, the Tami V'Atoyer, meaning the Tami V'Atoyer can eat it together. Which means to say the first of all the Tame can first of all it means that the Tame can eat it, but more or less he can eat it with the Torah, which means to say that when the Tame eats it, he's going to make the food the Bechor Tame, and by extension now when the Tahir eats it, he's going to be eating Bechor, which is Tame. Nevertheless, it's not a problem Bechor Ba'am, even though there's other restrictions which apply to Bechor Ba'am, but the fact that it's Tame doesn't bother me. So from the word B'Sharecha we learn that just like B'Sharecha over there refers to eating a Bechor while it's Tame, B'Chor Ba'am, which is tummy. So when it says, "Hey, lo yisuch alech b'shracha," means you're not allowed to eat Ma'aser Sheni while it's tummy. Okay, so that is how we know you're not allowed to eat it. But the problem is that the Mishnah says, "Shaloi niftu." Smashman that if you were paid it, then it would be okay. And normally we understand All the psukim is talk about being paid the ma'aser sheni, talk about ki yirchem mimcha Makkos, and when you're out far away from Yerushalayim and you don't want to take it up to Yerushalayim, so you can be paid it. But once it's in Yerushalayim, how can you be paid it? Even when it's tummy. Where's the marker for that? So we say that it's going quickly. Rabbi Loza says that how do we know that ma'aser sheni should be paid? Because it says about the word sa'esoi literally means don't carry it, but it uses a funny notion. So sa'esa means you're not allowed to eat. Sorry, means if you're not able to eat it, then you can be paid it. Yeah, you can be paid it if you're not able to eat it. We bring a raya from pasuk Parashas Miketz over there when Yosef gave Binyamin portions, he gave his brothers portions, and it says masses. So we learn from there that masses means portions of food. So we know that it's talking about eating. Okay. So that's how we know that even if you're not able to eat it for whatever reason because it's tameh, so then you are allowed to be paid it. Now we have another din. How do you know that ma'aser sheni Torah, which is just a step outside of Yerushalayim, that you can be paid it? So the right plus is ki yirchem mimcha Makkos sounds that you're far away. So we say from the fact that ki lo suchas you can't carry it. You don't want to carry it into Yerushalayim as long as it's outside of Yerushalayim and it requires you to carry it in Yerushalayim. You can still be paid it. To which the Gemara asked Albi's question. You just told me second go the words lo suchas seisai. You're telling me that when it's in Yerushalayim and you can't eat it, that's what seisai means. You're not able to eat it. Then you can be paid it when it's tamei. But ki lo suchas seisai to mean that you can't carry it when it's a step outside of Yerushalayim. How are you going to learn two dinim from the same pasuk? So the Gemara answers like, wait just a second. If you just wanted to tell me that you're not allowed to, that when you can't, that when it's tamei you can be paid it, then it could say ki lo suchas la'oichai. Say a usual word for eating. The Sa'esa tells me also the din of a step outside of Yerushalayim. Then the Gemara asks just a second. If that's the case, maybe the Sa'esa is only telling me the din of when it's outside of Yerushalayim. How do I also know the din of when it's tamei? So the Gemara says, because if that was the case, you could have said lo sucha litlo, you're not able to take it. And Lashon Sa'esa is a funny way of saying you're not allowed to take it. So we learn from it both things, both the achila and the carrying. Okay. Then there's the Gemara that has the question: what about if you went into Yerushalayim? And right, talking about being paid it, you're not allowed to be paid it once it goes into Yerushalayim. So what happens if you are in Yerushalayim, but your weight, your load, which is on your shoulder, is still outside of Yerushalayim? Is that good or not? Or can you still be paid it? Do we say it's been in Yerushalayim because you're in Yerushalayim and the mass is part of you, or do we say no? At the end of the day, the mass is outside, so you can still be paid it. So the Gemara says we learn from the words ki yirchem mimcha Makkos, at least the way the Rivan learns. Some Rishonim learn like mimcha is an extra funny way of saying that you're far away from Yerushalayim. So we learn from that miloecha, that as long as part of you is outside of Yerushalayim. Sorry, the other way around. From your entire, the Yerushalayim has to be far from the entire part of you. And over here, part of you is in Yerushalayim. It doesn't make a difference. The part of you is outside of Yerushalayim, and therefore, even if the mass is outside of Yerushalayim, you still can't be paid. Then the Papa asks the question: what happens if you have it in a long stick? And you're mamish in Yerushalayim and it's outside? Do we say that it's an extension of you and you can't be paid it, or do we say no? It's outside Yerushalayim. It's not part of you. It's not a load of yours. It's not part of you. So when it says take them, okay. Then we get on to the next din, which is that the din of in other words, we're saying two things really. Once ma'aser sheni comes into Yerushalayim, can't be paid it. That's what we're just saying now. But the original discussion is that what? That ma'aser sheni outside of Yerushalayim, right? You get Makkos. That was a starting point today. Yeah? The Mishnah says ma'aser sheni chutz l'chayim, you get Makkos. When are you chayav? For ma'aser sheni chutz l'chayim. Here we have a chiddush Rabbi Yochanan. It's not stam as if it's outside of Yerushalayim. It's only if it first goes in Yerushalayim and then goes outside of Yerushalayim. Only then you chayav Makkos. But otherwise, although it's also for other reasons, there's no Makkos. How do you? And he learns that at psukim. Only when it's possible, when it's been in Yerushalayim, then there's a law of eating it outside of Yerushalayim. Okay, and now we get to the Gemara that we learned today, which is a meisvei that from the Brisa, where Rabbi Yossi says a whole bunch of dinim, but basically that a Klein has a fig and he's mafresh truma from it. He says he's mafresh ma'aser rishon and ma'aser sheni, but he's in Yerushalayim. So we say that he gets one Makkos. Why does he get one Makkos? Because it's tevel. Why is it tevel? You took all the trumas and ma'asers. It's tevel because the trumas ma'aser, which has to be taken from the ma'aser rishon, that hasn't been taken. Truma is not an issue because he's a kohen. He's allowed to eat truma, right? Ma'aser rishon and ma'aser sheni is in Yerushalayim. The ma'aser rishon and ma'aser ani is taki. You need to give it to the Levi or the ani, but you can. There's no issa to eat it, so he doesn't get Makkos for eating. So I think Gemara said a zor who would eat the same food would get two Makkos. Why two Makkos? One for eating truma, because he's not allowed to eat truma, and the other for eating tevel because trumas mais hasn't been taken. And the Brisa notes that were he not to have taken any truma at all, he would have been better off. He would only get one Makkos because it's all tevel. He would just be over on the level of tevel. Now he's being over the level of truma plus tevel, so he gets two. But the deal that the Gemara makes is they said because he's in Yerushalayim, he only gets two if he's a zar. It's mashma that were he not to be in Yerushalayim, he would get three. Which sounds like a blanket rule. And whenever it's asked Yerushalayim, you get three Malkus, and that's such Kasha to Rabbi Yochanan, who says you only get Malkus when it first goes into Yerushalayim and then goes out. So the Gemara says no, that's taka the deal. The Dik is talking about the Brisa says, Rabbi Yossi says, if you were in Yerushalayim and you were mafresh it, so then you don't get you get two Malkus. But were you outside, meaning to say, were you then to take it out? So then you get an extra Malkus. The Gemara says, if so, what's the chiddush? Obviously. So my answer is no. The chiddush is that even if you took it in while it was tavel, you took it out while it was tavel. So you might say that it was never ma'aser sheni, which was rab pnei it's tavel. Nevertheless, there's a principle of matnish shalei k'misha homer that matanis which weren't separated as if they were already separated, and therefore it's as if ma'aser sheni went into Yerushalayim. Okay, then the Gemara says stira. How can we say that Rabbi Yossi is the one, a member of the Brisa, says that matnish shalei k'misha homer that even though it went into Yerushalayim as tavel, and then went out as tavel. Now, if you eat the ma'aser and then you mafresh the ma'aser sheni, now if you eat it, you're chayav malchus for eating ma'aser sheni as Yerushalayim, despite the fact that ma'aser sheni was never in Yerushalayim, was tevel, but because of the principle of matnish shalei horma k'mishomerdam, it's as if the ma'aser sheni was already taken earlier. Rabbi Yossi says elsewhere that Beishami still have an argument about this very case of tevel going to Yerushalayim. Beishami says taka, once it goes in and goes out, that's it. You have to go back and take it to Yerushalayim. You can't be paid it. You can't redeem it. Smash man. That. Even though when it was in Yerushalayim, it wasn't ma'aser sheni. We say matnish le'omer k'misha homer. Beis on the other hand says yifta v'yechel b'chol makom. It doesn't matter. You can still be paid it even though it went into Yerushalayim. Since it went into Yerushalayim while it was tavel, it's not a problem. It says a raya. Rabbi Yossi quotes Beis this way. Allah is like Beis Hillel. It's a raya. The matnish shaloi hormo is lav k'misha homer because it was k'misha homer and it once went into Yerushalayim and now went out, you won't be able to be paid it. And here we say you can still be paid according to Beis Hillel. So the Gemara answers just a second. No, you're mixing up two different cases. The case we were talking about earlier is whether you can get malchus for eating ma'aser sheni, which went outside of Yerushalayim. So then we say matnish le'omer k'misha homer because that's a din d'oraisa. So matnish le'omer k'misha homer is a real thing, and therefore tavel went in. It's as if ma'aser sheni went in, and now went out. You're going to get malchus. So d'oraisa dikadin, but the whole din that you can't be paid there. Ma'aser sheni once it went into Yerushalayim is drabanan. The Raisa doesn't matter as long as you're outside Yerushalayim. Now you can pay them. So the whole din that you can't be paid is drabanan. Drabanan limited exer to mamish things which is mamish ma'aser sheni, not where there's a lumdus of matnish le'omer k'misha homer dam. And therefore, if you took it in while it was tavel, then you're still going to be able to be paid there afterwards. Rabbi says a whole different pshat, meaning Rabbi goes back to the original question of the original brisa. And he says that what's the chiddush? We had a kasha ma'ila memra. If you took it in and took it out, and we answered dailinu b'tivlai, and then we had all different the issue with matnish le'omer k'misha homer in the Syrian Rabbi Yossi, and we answered the way we answered. Rabbi says you don't have to get to that. It's talking about a situation where you took it with a stick. That's the whole chiddush. You went in, and the ma'aser sheni stayed outside, and that was a Papa's question earlier. But if by the Papa, the Taka, the Brisa is telling you that even though the stick was outside, and the ma'aser sheni was outside, but since it was connected to you, it's as if it was inside, and he chayav malchus for the ma'aser sheni for it. Okay, now we get to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says a whole bunch of cases. We get malchus, someone who takes bald spots, makes bald spots in his hair, someone who shaves his payas off, cuts his payas, destroys his beard, someone who wounds himself, alames. In all these cases, chayav malchus. And then we get into some of the details. If you wound yourself one time for 5 different maces, or 5 times for one mace, you get 5 different malchus. And then we spoke about the fact that with regards to payas roish, you can get malchus for 2. If you get malchus twice for the 2 corners, and for the beard you get 5 malchus because of the 5 corners. Rabbi Lezer says no. If you did it all in one go, you only chayav 1. And there's another Makkos Tanakam Rabbi Lezer whether you're attacking you to use a razor or other kalim as well. If you destroy your beard without a razor, is it still a problem? So Tanakam says no, and Rabbi Lezer says yes. And then we get into the Gemara. The Gemara says, how do we know the first din of the Mishnah, which is that. Well, he didn't say beferish, but the Brisa is going to say that when you say karech karcha b'roishai, it's for each and every one you get malchus for the bald spots. The Mishnah talks about being sarat srita, achas, yeah, that you get for each srita. But now, what about karcha? Making a bold spot. So the Rabbi says, the pasuk could have said lo yikru, but the fact that the pasuk says karcha, we know that you get malchus in every single one. Now, just as Akdama to the next Gemara, there's two pasukim which say not to make a bold. So one is lo yikru karcha b'roisham, which is the pasuk in Parashas Emor, which is talking directly to Kainim. There's another pasuk abonim matna Hashem lekechem loises goyde loisimu karcha b'nei nechem lameis, which is said by the Yidden. A few differences between the two. One difference is that the extra word karcha is said by the Kainim. By the Yisroelim, it just says lo yisasimu karcha. It's not an extra word. Don't place a bold spot. So the whole din of karcha being chayva kol karcha karcha is said by a kohen. Another issue is that by kohenim it says beroisham. By yidden it just says beini nechem. So these are discussions we're going to be discussing now. So basically, the Gemara says that when it says beroisham, what's the pasuk teaching me? The pasuk teaching me as follows: so were it not to say beroisham, I might think it's only beini nechem that you chayv, just like it says in Parashas Yisroel. Only between the eyes, and that is where the tefillin is, the makom, right? The part of your hair which is between your eyes. How do I know the whole head? So the pasuk by Kainim tells me beroisham. Now the only problem is that that's the pasuk talking to Kainim. How do I know that every yid is also chayav? So we say there's a gzeir shava karcha. It says the word karcha by Kainim, it says karcha by yidden. So we compare one to the other. Just like by Kainim, yichayva kol karcha because it says the word karcha. Just like by Kainim, yichayva kol roish because it says clearly karcha beroisham. So too the same thing applies to Yisroel. Even though it says the word beinayim, and even though there's no special pasuk there by the yidden to by Yisraelim to be marbe each and every bold spot, we apply the din of Kainim to Yisraelim. And similarly the other way around. There's a special din by Yisraelim where it says that you only chayav karcha lameis. It says. Which it doesn't say by Kainim. It just says so you zmakim to say we're not for this gzeir shava. Kainim are more strict. Even if it's not ala meis, someone stamps angry, makes a bold spot in his hair, he's going to be chayav malchus if he's a kohen. So we say no, because of the gzeir shava karcha, we apply the din that it says by yidden, which is beinei nechem. We apply that also to kohen. And then the Gemara says, just a second, this din that you told me the chayav karcha, what are you talking about? If you're talking about a situation where you take a bold spot, you make a bold spot, and then you take another one, and in between each one you get another hasra. Don't do it. So you're doing 5 different actions. For sure, you get 5 malchus. You don't need a pasuk like karcha. Tell me chayva kol karcha. And if on the other hand you're just getting one hasra before doing all 5, then why should you get malchus for each one and every one? The hasra can only go on the first ma'aseh you did. Even if you consider it 5 different ma'ases, you can't get right. You can't get like. And then we bring a mishnah to that effect. A mishnah in Nazir, where it says that Nazir was drinking wine all day, 1 cup after another cup. Yeah, 20 cups of wine. He doesn't get 20 malchus. Only if there's a hasra in between each and every one, then he's going to get 20 malchus. So the chur is the same thing over here. What's the case where you have a chiddush that you chayav a kol karcha v'karcha? If there's a hasra for each and every one for sure, even without the pasuk, and if there's one hasra, then you should only get one. So the Gemara says no, you only got one hasra. Talking about a unique case where you made 5 different karchas at the same time. You took your 5 fingers, you dip them into this hair removal cream, and then you take the fingers and you put them in your hair, and you make 5 bold spots at the same second. So we're not for the pasuk I'm just saying I'm making bold spots. I'm doing one action. I'm making bold spots, so I get 1 malchus. There's only 1 hasra. If you say which is maskana, so then you chayav on each and every single one, and that's the chiddush of the brisa and pasuk. We'll stop over here, and we'll see you all Be'ez Hashem next week. Kol tov and have a good night.